Hi everyone, my name is Peter Marshman and I am secondary sector expert here at BCS, and I'm delighted to be sharing with you a webinar today around the TEALS programme and an overview for schools. So let's dive straight in and share what we're going to be talking about over the next couple of minutes or so. So we're going to be looking at starting off with what are the goals of the TEALS programme, why should your school get involved, what are the benefits for your young people that you look after. We're then going to be looking at the role of yourself as a TEALS teacher, the commitment for you to engage in this programme and maximise that impact. We're going to be looking also at what the next steps are for you to engage in this program and complete your application. So let's start off with a little bit more detail about what the TEALS program is. So TEALS, it stands for Technology, Education and Learning Support, is a Microsoft program that was already been run in the United States since 2009, and last year we had a trial in the UK. So TEALS is now delivered by BCS Computing at School with support from Microsoft and the HG Foundation. And TEALS really does help teachers accelerate their professional development by partnering them with volunteers in the classroom so that the teachers benefit from the subject knowledge and the experiences of industry volunteers. But it's not just the teachers that benefit from this. In turn, it's the students in your classroom where they benefit from boosting their subject knowledge through one-to-one work or group work with volunteers, whether it's through the enrichment or the enhancement of your curriculum through these experiences as well. And TILS really does focus on the education of those young people who are underserved or underrepresented. And this is also really supported in a way that the role models that you get in your classroom, these volunteers in the TEALS classroom, just really enables that, increased and wider range of role models that on top of, you yourself as a role model in the classroom as a class teacher. So to sort of unpack TILS a little bit about what it looks like on the ground, effectively, you have one or more volunteers. They will be connected to your computing department where they will join a Key Stage 3 or a Key Stage 4 lesson every week. And it will be the same class every week for the academic year that really ensures that the students in your classroom build relationships with your wider TILS team, including a volunteer. And if you have a 2-week timetable, then this might not be the same class every week, but it might be the same class every other week and rotating between two groups. The volunteers provide great capacity in your classroom. They act as role models. They enable you to deploy them effectively to work with individuals, to work with groups, to even lead parts of your lesson as the programme progresses in your school. They become part of your team. So think of them as the wider part of your department. An important jigsaw piece to that whole kind of computing puzzle that you have in your school. And really, what we're really passionate about and really understand is that, you as a class teacher, you are the leader of the classroom. And we really do understand that the volunteers are there really to support you. They are to support your leadership. They're to help you develop your leadership as well. And with the ultimate aim of course, impacting positively on students through their skills and knowledge that they develop. So this academic year, so 2023 to 24, that we're coming to the end of now, we've already had a pilot year for TEALS in the UK that's included 10 schools from Manchester, Birmingham, Reading, Walsall, London and Torbay. And these volunteers that have worked with these schools have come from a range of different organisations. So including Microsoft, the HG Foundation, but there are other organisations as well, other industries that tie into this project and to provide that pool of volunteers, all with a wide range of backgrounds and roles in IT and computer science. So I want to kind of now really think about this pilot and the impact that this has had already. So I introduce you to Matt Ryder, wonderful TEALS teacher at Joseph Leckey Academy in Walsall, and he's got a quote here. But I think the most important thing that I'd like to bring out of this wonderful quote is how by having volunteers in the classroom, it's really benefited from real world scenarios. So, and they've been an invaluable resource that have inspired the learners. And this is the benefit that the TEALS program brings. It brings a contextualization of activities and classroom sort of, materials that are being delivered, and it brings them to life, and it allows the teachers to develop their scheme of work going forward. So that's really, really important. And now I introduce you to Amanu, who's been volunteering in a TEAL school. And what I really love about this quote is that, there's two really important parts here. Firstly, Amanu has remembered his time at school. So it's brought him back to that place where he was inspired, and his desire from that to forge a career in IT. But what you can also read into this quote is just his desire to enable other young people to have that opportunity for a career he's just really, really enjoyed. And this is what the TEALS program does. It brings the passion of the teacher for your computing vision alongside the passion of volunteers to give back, all for the benefit of your students. And now I introduce you to the TEALS Manchester team. This is an amazing department at the Manchester Communication Academy. And the reason I've shared this with you is these have had an amazing vision for computing in their school, looking at individual classes, individual teacher professional development, and using the TEALS program to support both of those things. So to add that capacity, but at the same time, add that additional value to the staff in the school, both specialists and non-specialists. So this all comes back to your vision for computing. And the TEALS program is designed to support whatever your vision for computing is, whether that's developing young digital leaders, whether it's increasing the number of girls that take GCSE and A level in computer science, or maybe it's about preparing students for future careers. Whatever your vision for computing is over the next couple of years, whether it's those things, two of those things, none of those things, your own things, they are really, really essential to this program. And it's really important to keep hold of that and to consider, as we go through the finer details of TEALS, how this added capacity from volunteers can really support you with that vision and bring the students along with their learning along the way. So have a think about, what's the purpose of TEALS for your institution? Well, let's part of this to work really with whatever vision you've got is about relationships, okay, as it is with the students in the classroom. So it's about building relationships with volunteers and students. So you're now got, like, you triangulate that kind of support. So it's teacher, volunteer, student. That's your TEALS team. We can then look at, your role as supporting the volunteers by providing the materials, by providing them with the materials. They can see what's coming up. They can think about your scheme of work. They can think about the learning that's forthcoming, and they can prepare their impact and share their ideas with you on how they can really enrich that session. Of course, there are classroom logistics to consider. There's the deployment of volunteers. There's also the teaching and learning practices. There's the physical computing practices, all of those things. And it's all about using these to create a culture that values the ideas of your volunteers, yourself and your students, and bring that together in a teaching team where basically all volunteers feel included. So how can we really work with volunteers to help them flourish? Well, if you've got a department that can really understand other people's aspirations, if you have a department that can make effective deployment of support in your classroom, if you have a department that's really passionate about real world connections, and if you have a department that would love to model your own teaching and learning with volunteers to enhance that teaching and dynamic experience, then TEALS is definitely for you, because it is about that volunteer coming into your wider team to flourish alongside your students and for them to benefit from those interactions. So now we're going to just talk about your commitments as a TEALS teacher. And there are some commitments, and this is really important because as a TEALS teacher, your volunteers will be committing every week to your school and your students. And what's really important is that as a TEALS teacher, you are enabling that and accelerating the impact. And that can be through effective deployment, that can be through effective pedagogy and sharing that with the volunteers. It could be building capacity, building enrichment opportunities, building enhancement opportunities. We can support even the most basic processes of this in terms of logistics, in terms of how do they attend, how do they communicate with you as a department team. And then, of course, it's about your senior leadership commitment to this program. And we're providing free 2-hour online sessions that cover all of these things. So we will support you with all of these topics and help train you towards building a really effective TEALS team. There are commitments beyond the initial training. There are termly online meetings to share best practice. There will be a administrative team that we'll look at later that will help you and your volunteers kind of, join up together and form that kind of TEALS alliance. And then finally, we've got the TEALS evaluation process. There'll be an ongoing evaluation process as we continue to refine and improve the TEALS program. So to sort of summarize this journey, you can now make your application, and volunteers will be making their application to be part of the TEALS program. Volunteers will undergo interviews and enhanced disclosure and borrowing service check. They will then obviously go on to complete some training to make them sort of classroom ready for your school. But also, as we discussed earlier, teachers will also receive training to understand the TEALS program and those previous 6 hours of training that was discussed earlier. And then once all the training has taken place, there is that ongoing support. So you'll be introduced to the wider TEALS team here at BCS, who are here to support you and the volunteers and your vision for computing through TEALS. And then, of course, as we've discussed already, there'll be the evaluation, that continued evaluation. So I hope this slide sort of summarises the process and the importance and the support that you'll have along the way in developing this really effective TEALS team. So if this sounds like it's for you, if you want to really kind of accelerate your vision for computing, if you're looking to build leadership and computing capacity in your school, and you're looking to inspire your students with new role models, then go to bcs.org/TEALS to make your application, and we'll be waiting, ready to receive your applications to be part of this wonderful TEALS initiative. Thank you so much for listening to the short webinar. You'll find more information on the website listed below, and we look forward to hearing from you in the future.